Welcome to video 3 of 3 for the Graymason Neptunes Pride 64-man Ultra game playing as Yellow Hex, the Sigma Rotanev game, which is the special game where both Belsun and Jewish Star Empire are also doing the daily diaries. Belsun, unfortunately, spoiler alert, used to be in this little cluster here and is no longer there. Jewish Star Empire continues to hang on and do Jewish Star Empire things, directing and memeing from the back lines. Let's do a quick recap. Now, this is actually a little bit dated, as I did this yesterday, kind of the battle lines. And essentially, you have the three core of Graymason Belt Soulfire. Jorb dropped out. Effectively, he's in it, but giving me his stars. We picked up Avo and Fleet, who have been outstanding valiant fighters and pushing and owning the middle of the map. We are up against the Pink Ladies and Kara and Scarlet down here who pulled in Rager to help them. We have Fogor and Peon in the back of the map doing whatever they do with absolutely no impact on us so far this game. We have AIVVVV who is starting to give his stars to his allies. I've heard or seen. You can see this was yesterday where he's got these 3 stars, and if I flip back over to the game here, you can see already that's continued. He's sacking his stars for his friends, which are the Jewish Star Empire, King Arthur, Lancelot, and Hank. I know that's not their names, but that's their names to me because I can't pronounce some of their names, so I just call them Lancelot because of King Arthur and Hank because it's close-ish. As we pushed out, QWERTY became kind of a line, so he's not part of our alliance, but he's basically his ask was for us not to kill him, which I will honor, and he wants to see the death of the northeast corner, which I'm happy to help him do. He said once that's done, I can take his stars to push over and win the game, which I'm also happy to do, but I will not attack sooner. Galaxu has kind of been by then proxy with us, but you can see here, this was yesterday. Well, today they pushed in up here, and he just quit, which is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, as you can see, this is basically all the active players left. I don't think there's anyone really beyond that. So this is the board, and so from my perspective, I've been on weapons since almost day one. We have Soulfire on terraforming and Belt on manufacturing. Let's do a quick rundown of where things stand. From a ship's count, we actually have Scarlet's the only enemy with any substantial size of enemy fleets. From a star count, I guess you kind of saw it on the leaderboard. You get the idea. You can see here where AIVVV is sacking, and Kara's not faring too well in the battle either, as our guys in the middle fleet and Avo have absolutely astounded me at how good they are with such few resources. I highly recommend allying with them in future games. From an economy perspective, I had a slow start because I took over some stars, which was a great start, and then I had to make a 1,000,000-mile journey through Jorb and then beat Ungoliant one-on-one. Even though I had an upper hand, it took a while and it slowed me down. But then once Jorb got tired of playing because of the stalemate over here, and he very kindly and very quickly gave me his stars, you can see I was able to immediately shoot up and take the top of economy, which is my goal, to get up there quick and continue to keep at the top, because honestly that's what will win us the game. On the industry front, I've been just slowly working my way up. I made one little push at the beginning of this cycle, but beyond that it's just been through acquisitions. And then on science, basically we kind of looked at and we said, okay, for the 3 of us, we just need to make sure our science is better than their top 3 science. So I need to deal with Hank, but besides Hank, it's me, Soulfire, Belt on the top, and then Scarlet's up there a little bit. So they've got 2 that are close. If we take a look now at some of the front lines, let's see how things are looking for us. We finally just arrived in the northeast truly with any amount of force. I just literally blew up. Let me show you this magnificent. Hank took some damage. I lost about 1,200 fleets, but so did he. I just hit weapons 15 and he's still at 13. So he's going to start feeling the pain He's going to start feeling the pain big time, and I'll probably need to give Jorby a little bit more power too. But yeah, so Hank's going to lose this. He's going to lose this. He's going to lose this. He's going to lose this. I'm taking this star to warp it to get QWERTY up to the front lines. And then what I think I need to do is, again, just kind of push down this corridor and plug this hole, um, and let QWERTY push in up top here. And then I can keep. It's going to be hard to break into this zone, I think, directly. But and it'll be interesting once I have to start dealing with King Arthur as well. But that's part of the fun. So I think I make this my beachhead first, and we see if QWERTY can come in. I'll be taking more of the hits from him instead of him, and that should allow him to go through and clear this out. So this is looking good, and I think I'm going to put the majority of my forces up there. I originally was going to do where I just kind of make a stalemate line, but because Hank's pushing down here too, I need to be more aggressive on his back line so he can't just flow everything down this way. Um, I intended to go from here to jump to the east, but when I got here, my allies basically killed everything before I could arrive. So I'm just jumping down far enough away that they can move out of my way when I arrive. I've got, 1,600 and more coming. And I may not send a lot more until I see that they need it. But this will give me good vision of what's happening here in the center. Yeah, but if Avo can push down into the Pink Ladies, if Fleet can push east, that really just and then Soulfire can stop sending the many guys, and he can just help belt more down in the southwest. Because I feel like this is probably our at most risk quadrant right now. Then then um, then we'll be good. We are nearing the end of cycle 21. As you can see, the things overall on the charts looking good, and our progress is looking good. Let's start in the northeast. We did establish a pretty good beachhead. We got Jorb who pushed ahead. We're going to go ahead and jump to that. And so we should be able to get this cluster under control pretty quick and see what King Arthur throws at us. He's right now looks like he's trying to eat up the AI, eat up Galaxy that went AFK or went to quit. And so we're going to have to deal with King Arthur. It looks like we probably don't have to deal with Lancelot, but we'll deal with Arthur, and we'll deal, of course, with Hank, which will be our main focus, neither of which are particularly scary. And I am sending the majority of my armada will be headed into this corner. QWERTY's a little bit tricky to work with, attacking some of the things I'm already at. I'll move out of his way. It's not a problem because I need him to get up here. And if basically QWERTY can clear out Lancelot and take some blows from King Arthur, that'll be great. But yeah, so the northeast looking good. And again, I have just a lot of forces streaming in, well more than I'm sure Hank can handle, especially because I think his focus is pushing it down into the center. Now in the center, I did get this very nice star that gives me beautiful vision of what's going on. And again, all I see is friendly faces for the most part. I threw in about 2,000 ships into AIVVV's star here, which is where he's rallying his troops. So I made a pretty big dent in him. And then I asked Fleet, okay, if I launch now, he'll just cut that and it'll take me like 3 days to get there. Well, maybe not, but over 2. And so he's going to warp gate this for me, and he should secure it and warp it, and then this next wave will come into that spot, and so I'll have again a little bit of a nice pathway. Beyond that, in the southwest, we're making progress. We're pushing them back. We're winning. And then we are now seeing Peon make his way up, and we are seeing now Fogger making his way up. He's probably their strongest player left right now. I mean, he's got more ships than me, and he's doing pretty good with industry and science. Scarlet is overinvested in industry and doesn't have enough economy to really be a serious threat. I'm pulling away in weapons, so I'm going to have weapons in 4 ticks, and I actually could be I could be 2 ahead of the enemy at that point in time. I assume I may be, it's more like 1 full tick or 1 full level ahead, but I'm just going to start pulling ahead. If you did notice, Hank does have a decent amount of science, but I think he's on terraforming. But we caught up with them on that too. So overall, not too concerned about really anything. I don't think my alliance is going to flip. I don't think they can stop us. I think we're just going to continue to push out and win the game. Cycle 23, actually the first tick of cycle 23. Let's take a look of how things have progressed. Up in the northeast, as we saw before, nice foothold, really secure, and now we're pushing out into the next group of stars. There's a long distance to get around this bend versus this tightly clustered. So I kind of do want to get up here and get a bunch of these stars so Queerty doesn't get them. It's just going to be less stars I have to reclaim later. But I also want to start put some pressure on Hank. And I wouldn't mind, honestly, getting in here and taking Jewish stars and just removing him or forcing that action. But that might be getting ahead of myself. But anyway, if you look at how the competition is, it's not great. King Arthur's not going to put up a fight. Queerty is actually doing decent. Lancelot here, it's interesting because Queerty probably couldn't take any one of them by himself. But he's doing a great job throwing his ships into the enemy, and I can come in. But even Hank, Hank's the strongest of these 3. But I'm really far ahead, and I don't know. I couldn't do it without Queerty. If I pissed off Queerty and he attacked me, I couldn't handle all 4 of them by any stretch. So I need to keep Queerty happy. So I think he is. But that would be the only thing that I could really screw up is if Queerty flipped on me. If he's flipped, I'm screwed. In the center, I had this path, but it was kind of this long path just to go over this way anyway. And I said, hey, can I just grab this 1 star? And then I'll just go straight across. So they agreed. I would like to keep these because if nothing else, they do provide great vision of what's coming. But again, if you look at the AIVVV, he's down to 7 stars, so not much left. He did his thing. And now what I'm about to face is the western push of Hank, which again I'm dealing with him up top and down here, so I'm not too concerned. But I will, I think, see now Fogor, who I think is the strongest player on their team. He actually is the only one that understands the value of economy and how that's going to factor into being able to keep up with me. So I am anticipating Fogor being a bit of an issue. Peon did start to make a journey up. Not too worried about Peon. So when you look at the MP stats, you include Peon as an enemy, but for all effective purposes, he's not in the fight. There's nothing he has that's in the fight, so he kind of doesn't exist right now. He will later, but by the time he gets in the way he's going, it's just not going to matter. So in the center, we've basically held this entire center now is all us. Actually, all the way out to here, right? So we've really gotten this whole section is all ours. Now, what happened is they saw Fogor coming up and they're stockpiling by the pink ladies. And so Avo and Fleet are going to have to go and deal with that. So they're basically saying, hey, we're going to just do minimal push to the east. We're going to deal with the pink ladies. And then Soulfire and Belt are dealing with the southwest. So Belt's looking pretty strong. He's still got more ships than I do, as does Soulfire. They've pretty much finished off Rager. He's got 6 stars left and 5,000 ships. 5 stars, 5,000 ships. And then their only focus is going to be on basically, I think, Scarlet. Most of her fighting is down here. And so they'll be dealing mostly with Scarlet, who, again, overinvested in industry, should have bought more economy because now we're going to start to pull ahead. And I was able to do a huge push on science. And I had a debate with Belt. I told him, hey, you need to buy more economy. And he disagreed with me. And so Belt, if you're watching, here's my logic. So I just spent like what 6,000 credits on upgrades, and I these are very cheap sciences, right? Like I can't buy anymore without going, overspending. I just spent I bought about 50 industry, and they're only costing 45 because we have a star count so high and our terraforming is so high. Um, that extra economy means you're getting very affordable techs. Um, and if I had 2,000 less credits, then that's a lot less I could buy each cycle. So there's nothing more important at this stage than the economy because of the state where we're at, we would be able to get so much more and pull ahead so much faster. So yeah, you may not have that industry for the immediate cycle, a little deferred gratification, but in the long run, it's really going to pay off. So anyway, the only thing that we're back to the game, the only kind of strategic thing that I'm worried about, I don't think that they can win straight up. The only thing they could possibly do is try to do the nuclear option where maybe Fogor could eat up all of Peon and start eating the pinks from the inside, and while the pinks have all their ships defending and creating a wall, they seem to be creating a wall here. And so if they just want to stalemate here and then Fogor just goes through and just consumes them all, that would be the only thing they can do to stop us. And quite frankly, I'm not quite sure how we would stop that if they made this wall here, and our guys couldn't bust through to get to Fogor. It would actually put it all on me. Um, I need to think about, is there something I should be doing differently, right? Because maybe going all up here and getting this isn't the right play. Maybe this is all just a red herring, a distraction. But if they're not going to do that, then I definitely want to go up here. So I need to think this out a little bit more. But that's I think the only way that we don't win 1, 2, 3, the top 3 spots. Cycle 24, we are finally fully committed on all fronts into the final war of the game. I'm going to flip over to our little battle chart. It's easier to read than that other mess. As you can see on the top left are the good guys, the bad guys in the bottom right. And we've got a good chunk of the map. This is over 50% of the stars total. These two are screwed up. That should have been in this line like this. But so you have the war in the southwest, and I have a detailed picture of this from Belt's perspective. And Soulfire sending most of his ships down here. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to start to chip away here. In the south, again, we have Avo and Fleet, who are our 2 weakest players from their starting position, but they're both incredibly strong tactical, strategic players. They'll be fighting up against Fogor coming up from both fronts. And it looks like it's interesting. He's going center instead of trying to deal with us over here, which I think is a mistake. I think he would have more success dealing with this newly acquired territory that's not fortified. But I think they're trying to break through the middle. Our guys are ready, and we'll see a little view in there. And then up here, it's just a little bit of a knife fight, a little bit of chaos, but I think we're going to push them back. And once the northeast here is gone, then QWERTY said I could have his stars. So that will give me a final push forward. So looking then a little bit deeper, and you can see there's Soulfire, myself, Belt are going to be the top 3 on our team if all things go as planned. The exact order will be determined. I'm fine in any order, quite honestly. Any one of us deserve it at this point. So let's dive in just a little bit up into this corner. As you can see, QWERTY's grouping, he's outclassed individually. He's got the 7,700 with the 186. Even just King Arthur outguns him. I think he's outgunned by Lancelot. So these two do need to be dealt with here. These two. And I'm still dealing with Hank as well. Hank is actually also fairly strong, but he's splitting both south and towards me. So the sooner I deal up with this, the better. Um, we do have a little bit of a weapons advantage. We're about 1.5 weapons ahead now. Um, so again, it's hard to tell a lot from here, but basically there's just a lot of ships are blowing up right here. But I have finally a good kind of connection point. It takes a lot of travel time, and but I focus on getting positioning first. But now I need to clear up and start getting a lot of stars, and that's got to be my next thing. In the kind of the center eastern front, and it's hard to see when you're zoomed in, but all these diamonds are good guys, right? These are all Soulfire. So my goal from this front is to get this cluster here of Hank stars, and then these can all push forward into Hank together. And I'd love to get rid of Jewish Star and take his. I mean, his weapons are at 5, so and he's got 2,000 ships. So this is free money right here, and I'll keep one alive just to taunting purposes. Because he's the guy making the videos. Yeah. So, but the real fight, assuming I can get up here, is down in the south. I don't have vision yet on Peon, but he obviously has arrived. You have 4,000, another 2,000, another 3,000. So a lot of Fogor ships. And if you again look, he's a pretty strong. He's in strong position. So um, being able to push him back and holding everyone else down here at bay will go. This is, I think, going to be the most challenging front because Fogor is very strong. Um, so we should win down here. We should win up here. We hold in the center, and it's easy money. Cycle 25. The war continues. Let me give you a quick little view. This was the map from yesterday. And when you kind of look ahead, you can see the progress we made, kind of a push out into the east. I'll go back and forth so you can kind of see the movement push out into here. And then also along the southwest, we had a little bit of a breakthrough. Ragers finished off. Soulfire kind of pushed in here. So kind of broke through a little bit here. We've held our ground for the most part here. And the other spot is up in this section in the northeast. I've been able to make some headway there as well. Now, this looks more promising when we flip back over to the actual game. You can see there's some craziness going on. I've got 1,500 fleets heading here. I'm going to have to do some fancy warp gating to deal with that. 3,000 coming here. So I'm having to do some magic. And then down in the south, Soulfire is going to lose a fair amount. So Soulfire right now is sitting pretty strong, but he's going to lose this star. He's going to lose this star. He's probably going to lose a decent chunk of the southeast. You have Fogger, who finally came in here, and he's going to take this star for a little bit, and we'll have to fend that off. They haven't full out launched. The Pink Ladies have not launched, but Fogger and Peon have, and so they're gonna take some stars in the south central and the southeast, and we're trying our best to defend those. I don't know if you look. Peon doesn't have a very good production, a lot of industry to be able to keep a sustained battle from a long, all that industry's down here. It's a long chain, so he's. Once we deal with this initial push, again, we may lose some stars. We'll have to fight it back, but luckily, I basically spent about 5,000 credits just on this little chain here that's going to go and defend the south, and then I added this piece in. And so the thinking is this section here will be my southern defense, where I'm not trying to push, but just hold. And then most of my things are going to be flowing in, and strategically, again, it's kind of a mess to look at, but I want to try to push straight up if I can, because I think if I can get this first, then I can push out together. If I just push into red, I'm just surrounded by all fronts, and I don't think I can hold it as easily. So just tactically speaking, I'm going to try to come up here. And if I could kind of focus on these stars next, and then that'll also allow QWERTY to push into King Arthur himself. And then I want to be surrounding QWERTY, so when he says it's time to give up his stars, I'm able to just to take them. Because right now, now nowhere close to triggering end game yet. But he's got, let's say he's got 30 stars. That puts me well ahead of everyone else. So that's the plan right now. Cycle 27. The world's blown up. Let's take a quick look at what's going on. You'll notice a lot more green star than there was before. That's because Fogor has begun consuming scarlet. All the pink diamonds are being eaten up over here, and he's starting to just munch his way to the west. On top of that, it seems like that alliance has done some explosions. So you see, I don't know if they were inspired by me complaining about, but like all the carriers, but good luck figuring out what the hell's going where. It's going to take a little bit of digesting to figure out that. Up in the north, a similar, like, just what is this? Bottom line though is this is the final push for them. They either win or lose right here. So I did go ahead and get permission from QWERTY. I said, hey, the game's pretty much over. He said, go ahead and start taking my stars. So I'm going to start consuming his stars. And what that means is QWERTY's 26 stars will bring me to like, what, 150, which isn't anywhere near enough because Fogor is going to have 133 plus 72, so there's 200, 244, 286, right? So with just taking Peon, Kara, Starbuck, Thrace, Scarlet, he's at the nuclear option of we're going to lose, just give all our stars to one player. But he's also, then you see, snuck up here, and he's getting some of Hank's stars. So that will be more than enough to get him over if he's able to maintain everything he has and maintain all of the pinks. So we said, all right, guys, that's it. Let's launch. And so we launched, and then they launched, and now a bunch of stuff's going to blow up. So this is it. Final big fight, I think. Still feeling pretty good overall, because when you look at the intel here and you take a look at, at this point, yeah, they have one player. And let's just look at ships, because at this point it's kind of only ships. You have myself and Soulfire way up at the top, and you have Belt up here. Even though he's getting all the stars, he's way down at the bottom. So we have 3 players. So what are we at? 59, 56, 51. So that's over 100. What is that? 160, 170 to their 36, 37, right? 33. So they're going to lose. This is where they're going to lose. They should have tried this sooner, I think. It's still going to be a little bit tricky because he can get Peon uncontested. But basically what they try to do is build a wall along the pinks, and then he just eats from behind, and then over here we're pretty weak. So I don't know. I guess they have a shot, and this is their only shot to win. But yeah, big excitement. This kind of looks like fireworks. The fireworks are going off, and I'm liking our chances. Cycle 28. I think the big threat's over. You can look at the map. You can see I was able to eat up QWERTY pretty effectively. And I've got a huge dent into and pretty much neutered now. Is Lancelot? Yeah, Lancelot here. So he's down to 8,000 ships, and I'm now barreling down into him. And again, I'm prioritizing coming up and killing him, and then I'll kill King Arthur. Before I was trying to kind of hit all 3 at the same time, and it just really wasn't working. I should have done this sooner. Once I established kind of this nice bigger chasm that they had to get over. So that was my bad. But now, yeah, if you look back at the leaderboard, I'm up here. Fogor's still doing fine. expanding into the pinks. But now even Avo's pushing into him. We have Fleet pushing into him here or here. So he's going to have to fight all of us. Soulfire's got some resistance up here, but he's also pushing in on pinks. A little bit of drama with Belt and Soulfire. I think just different playstyle where Soulfire avoids the big stacks and just was greedy, taking as many stars as he could, much very similar to how I play, where Belt was kind of trying to methodically go through and deal with the big stacks and felt like he was absorbing all the big hits, and then Soulfire would just take all the stars. Which is why at the very beginning I was like, you know what, I don't want to expand with someone else, except someone like Jorb, because I play well with him, and he's a really good ally. Not that Soulfire is not. It's just when you have two people playing greedy or or people playing differently, it makes it hard. It makes it hard, and so I think it'll be fine. But Soulfire or I should get first, and Belt should get third. And then, but I don't see any other way this goes down at this point. The threat in the middle is removed. We've got a little wall here. We've kind of held our ground, which is a bit surprising we were able to, but there you go. Fogger did pump up his science. You can see he actually caught up in weapons and still has a little bit more. So next cycle I have to keep investing in science. I don't think it actually matters that much, but I will. But yeah, so this mess up here will be cleaned up in the next day or so. There's no warp gates, so that slows things down a little bit. And yeah, and then I'll start working on King Arthur, and I'll just kind of sweep down, and so if you look at the count to trigger the end game, though, I'm at 161 plus 20 plus 30, so that's another 50. So I'm at 210. If I get Hank, it's 40, so that's 250. Even if I get all of Hank, so if I get this entire corner, I'm still about 40 stars short, so I need another 40 stars from Fogor down here. So it's the game will be definitely decided because our alliance was so strong. We may end up not triggering. We may have just people quit in order of rank. But anyway, good game, very fun game. But unless someone on our team flips, which I just really don't see happening, I don't see how we can't win at this point. Cycle 30, we are all but done with this game. Now it's really a question of, do I get first or do I get second? There's really no other option. We're pushing in on all fronts against the bad guys. You can see I've done quite well for myself up in the northeast. I should finish off Lancelot, King Arthur, Hank, and doing all that, I'll still be about 30, 40 stars short of triggering end game. So I had an interesting message that came in from Fogor, basically saying, look at the numbers, blah, blah, blah. In exchange for a temporary truce on the north, so I could hold in the south and potentially still rank this round. What do you think? So I said I won't stab my team, but I can prioritize my attacks. So yeah, the funny thing is I actually was that before him even saying that. I'm like, yeah, I can't attack everywhere at once. So I just want to hold the line here, and that's what he asked me to do, is just hold. And so I'm like, yeah, I won't attack you until I deal with all of this, which is what I was planning on doing anyway. So I don't view that as a stab as much as just smart playing. And so, but knowing that then allows him to prioritize more to defending the south, which he's going to lose either way, so I'm not hurting my team. But it should slow Soulfire down enough that hopefully I can get first. So that's the plan for now. Cycle 31, the game is all but over. The only last thing to figure out is who gets first, second, or third. Me, Soulfire, Belt. What order do we get it in? I was having some conversations with Fogor to try to help encourage him to put in more resistance in the south, because what I'm hearing is what I'm hearing from my allies is that he's just retreating, and I've been playing rather passive up here along this front. I basically sat back while Fogor was attacking Soulfire, and Soulfire got annoyed with me for not doing that. In real life, I was kind of busy with things, and so I was kind of just holding my front here because I was sending all my troops this way, and I figured if this just we don't need to advance, I just need to hold this. The problem was my allies were all fighting like for their lives here, and I was just letting them kind of die off because my logic was, first of all, it was just a little bit more time than I had, but secondly, if I would have committed more ships to defending here, it slows down my growth here. And even if I lose like all these stars, once I've gotten through here, I'm just going to take it right back and then just keep rolling. So I need to really prioritize getting these stars over everything else. But just to appease my allies, I went ahead and I did make a couple of attacks here, and we'll see if that does anything. You'll notice Soulfire in retaliation has retreated. He's retreating all his ships off his stars and just basically giving them for free to Fogger out of anger, I think. But yeah, so we'll see. I mean, really, so I created a thread for the top three just to say, hey guys, how do we want to how do we want to do this order? How do we want to handle a top three? Do we just all do a mad rush? Do we decide amongst the three of us? Do we vote? And I said, you know what, if we do a mad rush, I win, clearly, because I'm ahead and I got expansion. So like the mad rush, I win in this one. The three of us, so I figured, if we're going to vote, we might as well include, Fleet and Avo, because they were really valuable. Oh, and here, let me show you a couple of, these are kind of some funny memes. Stop attacking Fleet or draw 25 cards. AIVVV. He's not going to stop attacking Fleet. He's just going to keep drawing cards. So that's that's one meme that's funny. And then this is the Jewish Stars meme about that I demanded AIVV. This is his summary of the game in a nutshell. That I demanded AIV stop attacking the Fleet. AIV refuses to save. So anyway, you can read it. It's funny. I mean, what's interesting about this whole game is it really did, in many ways, revolve around the center with Avo and Fleet, even though the top three are going to be those that were protected in the corner. But we wouldn't be where we're at without really the valiant fighting throughout in the center. And so you can see down here, Soulfire's pushed in, Belt's pushed in. The game is really pretty much done. So hopefully we can end it without alienating our allies and making them too upset about ranking. So I look at this in the end of cycle 31, and look at this. Jewish Star Empire, you're drunk. Go home. Cycle 32. The game is pretty much over now. It's really, the top three will be myself, Soulfire, Belt. The question is, will I maintain first place or not? Fogger has basically been retreating and giving it to me and fighting more in the south. The only wild card is if Belt and Soulfire conspired to give stars. I don't think they will. I think it's going to go down this way. But Soulfire's still fighting for first, as he should. Zooming in here, you can see the only really big wild card is what Peon does. He's got a huge amount of ships here, and I've just been aggressively taking over stars, is gobbling them up as quickly as I can. So we'll see what happens here with Peon and who he decides. Fogger definitely decided I would win, but Peon could throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in this whole bit as well. There's really not much to say. Finishing off King Arthur, finishing off Hank. I would like to keep JSE for the final star. And so it was. My great symphony shall live on. My noble allies fought their hardest. Thank you, JSE, Jewish Star Empire. Anxious to see what your video looks like, hear your perspective. Probably just have one more to wrap this up, maybe two, but shouldn't be much more. And there we have it. The game is over. Graymason is the winner. Very fun game, and honestly, the best alliance I think I've ever been in this entire game, from top to bottom. Beltawada, Creso, amazing day one ally. Soulfire, amazing ally. And then we picked up, Jorb Gorb, completely selfless, sacrificing himself. Horrible start, but stuck it out. And then really, Avo and Fleet in the center won the game. Their unwillingness to ever give up. Look at them, all that's left of Fleet. He commanded the middle, and we could not have done it without him. I'm very anxious to hear how much pressure he got from the other side to flip, and he didn't. And I mean, really, they all deserve a ton of respect. Fogger on the other side was the last of the enemies that were the strongest. He played well, and appreciate him not prolonging the game any longer than it needed. And then the Jewish Star Empire, who I wanted his star to be the final star I took over. I launched on it, and then I accidentally must have launched on a few other places and ended the game early. So I guess this sets us up. His empire was not completely eliminated. They will live on, and sets up for a sequel, since he had people survive. So it's time to give out some awards and some badges. Jorb Gorb, once again, you helped me get a Conquest badge, so I do need to honor you. And I think what is most appropriate for Jorb is going to be the top ally. He is somebody who I seek out to ally with because I know that I can trust him. He will never betray you. He is truly a top ally. Next is Avo, who was the other guy in the center, defending this land and this entryway into the Northwest Alliance for so long, playing defensively for so long, finally able to push into the South, and so for that, I think he deserves a badge. I think the badge for him, and I don't want to repeat badges, but I just feel like the one that's the most appropriate is the Ironborn. The next player I'd like to honor is the Fleet. He was one of those empires that was in the middle and just constantly getting pounded all game long. AIVVV never let him go. Kara and Scarlet were trying to persuade him, and his perseverance and his dedication were unparalleled. So for Fleet, I feel like he's a dead ass. No, I feel like he's the Ironborn. Hard places breed hard men, and hard men rule the world. So yes, the Fleet, you now are part of the Ironborn. Next up, Soulfire. What badge do you buy a guy that's got almost all the badges? And, I mean, he easily could be a top ally, a Lionheart, a badass, an Ironborn. He really is all of those things. And so, what do you do? And I think for Soulfire, his quick expansion up into this area, over here, down here, like his ability to just quickly advance, quickly spread out like the plague. I think there really is only one badge for him. And for that badge, I think it's the quick draw. And it's not meant in a bad way he's going to attack you. It's just his ability to quickly spread across the universe. And he didn't have it, so now I think now he has all the badges, so that's kind of cool. And the last of my allies, Belt, the player who I agreed to team with on day one, day zero, hour one, and we were tried and true through the whole game. I never had any inkling of threat or any concern other than he would do his best for our mutual success. There's so many different badges that I think would be appropriate for him. but I think I don't know what to do for a belt. They're all so good. I feel like top allies. I think I want to give it to him, but I feel like it's not significant enough to show. Um, I feel like this is, I think, the badass one. I like that one more for belt. So there you go. I hope you enjoy. Last but not least, the Jewish Star Empire. He may not have ended up on top this game, but I do feel like his his memes, his involvement in the game, even though it was limited on many levels, it does deserve the level of commitment that he showed deserves some recognition. And so for you, Jewish Star Empire, and I had a couple of thoughts here. I thought the wordsmith might be good, the role playing, but I think even more than that, I think the master strategist. I think you're masterminding, at least attempts to, um, is worthy of this badge. So I hope you enjoy. And that concludes our very special game, Sigma Rotanev. Please watch the other videos from Belson, from the Jewish Star Empire. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, click on the link for the next episode. And don't forget to click subscribe for more content.